Remove your shirts.
Day 18 of 100 Days of Making Comics with me, Gazbot. So it is day 18. We're trying another setup. This is the office. I usually don't get to record in here because Q is home and she'd be doing work over there, and combination of feeling awkward in front of her and not wanting to bother her and not having her Dragon Age music in the middle of the video. Anyway, we're trying this here today. I'm back to using my iPhone. I'm not using the GoPro. I'm going to see about returning it because I'm betting you can't tell the difference between when I use it and when I don't. And I can't either. And it seems like a waste of money. So hopefully I can return it. If not, I'm going to be shooting a lot more of outside action videos. So meanwhile, today I put in 4 hours, which is a good day, but don't be misled. It wasn't as productive as you might think. I've been kind of excited to start revising the script, but I am intentionally not doing that today. What I did the first hour I spent printing it out. I decided to print out all the scripts I have so far. These are the scripts for the 4 issues. And when you stack them all up, it's a pretty hefty size. I don't know how many pages I didn't count, at least 100, probably more. But it feels good. It's tangible. It's arguably unnecessary, but I almost recommend printing out what you've written because it feels like a lot more of an accomplishment than it did just looking at words on the screen. So as you can see, I have it printed out. And the reason for that, aside from the secondary benefit of it feeling like a tactile, nice thing, is that tomorrow I have 2 caricature jobs I have to go to on site, and I have a couple hours in between to kill where I'll probably get lunch. And I was thinking, well, I could bring my iPad and try to use Evernote and all that, but I feel like it'd be more fun and just, I don't know, I enjoy the process more of going through the scripts with a pen and just pretending I'm a teacher and marking it up that way. So that's why I printed them out. It took surprisingly long. While I was doing that, it probably took me about an hour. It probably shouldn't have taken me an hour, but while I was doing that, I was going to do a thing where I featured a couple artists I liked that inspired me, maybe do a drawing like they do. I had this idea. But what ended up happening is that the first artist, Walt Simonson, famous comic artist from, I guess, the 80s, although he still works today. He might have even worked as early as the 70s, now that I think about it. I started looking up stuff of his, and I basically just ended up making a folder of, like, Walt Simonson art reference and, things like that, because he does action very well, and capes, and things like that. I'm going to go ahead and put up a little slideshow of some of his work right now, and I'll talk over that. So the first thing we could see here is Thor, which is probably what he's most famous for doing. Funny enough, I was never into Thor, even his, but this is a nice piece, and it illustrates what he's sort of known for, the cape and the dynamism. This is where I really first got into him. He used to do a book called X Factor, which was essentially X-Men in the 80s, and this is in black and white. These were 3 different covers that all joined together. There's the color version. This is like the prime of when I was super, super at the height of my into comicsness, and these stories blew me away, and the art blew me away. This was a cover he did for Fantastic Four, another book I never got into, but for a short time when he was doing it I did. And this cover, I remember very well taking a picture of it with a actual camera, even though I owned the book. This is another cover for X Factor during Inferno. He did a lot of iconic cover imagery that, draftsmanship aside, is just good graphic design like that. And this is a more recent piece. I believe this is Star Slammers, his own book, which I never read, but I like the extra detail work that the other stuff didn't have, and just sort of shows what he does on his own. So yeah, I ended up just doing that while I printed out for about an hour, and it was good because it kind of charged me up. I'm also going to put a link in the show notes to a process blog I found of him just walking through how he did a cover, which I thought was interesting because part of what he did was drawing different characters separately and then recompositing them. Now, he did it using a light box and photocopy machine and things like that, but I do that sort of thing using Photoshop all the time. And part of me always feels like, is this cheating? Am I, I can't just draw it, I have to put it together. But seeing an artist that's been doing it forever, that I respect as much as him doing the same thing, it's one of those things where it kind of validates you of like, hey, a technique's a technique. It's the end product that matters, I suppose. So that was the first hour. Then I spent another hour-ish reorganizing all the files on my computer. I had a file called The Horror, and it just had like almost everything. So I separated into text files and character designs and old files I don't need and all that stuff. And then I also went in and reformatted a couple text things and just like a lot of what I call housekeeping. So that was almost 2 hours at that point. And then I decided to go ahead and do some drawing. My original plan to try to copy an artist I like to figure out some of their style went by the wayside because that was going to be loosely tied to the project at best, and that this will make me a better artist. But I decided to, the main character, Boots, in the story, I have kind of the character design of her, but I've only drawn her once ever, and I know I'm going to need to draw her a lot of times, so I figured I'd do what in animation would be called an expression sheet, where you just have, you know, like 10, ooh, hey, ha, ooh. Only ended up doing a few, and actually, I'm going to put up, I did a process video, so I'll put that up right now.
So here you can see upper right corner is the original sketch design I had done of Boots. And this is me kind of doing a 3/4 sort of surprised look. First I just sort of sketched out the expression, now I'm trying to actually make it match the model. And I don't have this in the original drawing, but I put headphones around her because it's going to be one of her signature things. Here I am redrawing the mouth and the nose 15 times. And she's supposed to be half Asian, half Japanese specifically, and half Caucasian. So I want her to look a little Asian. And then I do the front view of her kind of like doubtfully like, I don't know about this. And she's got sort of a do-rag thing. And there's the headphones again. I put a little design in it, although I feel like I probably will take that design out of the bandana in the actual comic. Now, I got those two done pretty quick, right? The whole rest of the video is going to be this profile shot, because I was like, oh, I need to figure out the side, what her hair is going to look like, and I kind of realized / remembered, forgot that I'm kind of terrible at profiles. Like, the anatomy of it always gets messed up. I can fake it pretty well in like a character in a panel, you know, I can make it look right. But when I really sat down and just like do a model of like, this is what you look like, all of them looked weird. Bulbous head and then too big a chin, and I redrew it like 15 times. And similarly with the hair, I kind of really quickly was like, well, this is what her hair and her do-rag and everything looks like from the front. But as soon as I tried to do the side, it was looking weird. I grabbed some reference of a couple different ladies and just sort of was like, well, let me remember the correct proportions for... that was another YouTube video I watched. I'll put a link up for that. And so first I wanted to just remind myself what correct proportions are. I mean, I draw kind of cartoony anyway, but just to give myself a baseline. And here I am just readjusting 100 times. Similar with the hair. I kind of needed to figure out what her hair looks like under the do-rag and from the side so that it would make sense any angle I drew it from. And I redrew the eye like 15 times. I spent way more than I wanted to on this profile. But again, by doing it now, hopefully that'll save me work later in the book.
So yeah, that was about 2 hours plus, and it was a lot of figuring stuff out. It didn't forward progress on the book, but it forwarded my progress on understanding that character and my just basic drawing skills, so I consider that productive. And yeah, so that's pretty much the day. It's been a good day. Tomorrow I expect to be getting 2 hours done, more or less sitting in my car or at an IHOP or something while I eat, going through script revisions. So tomorrow's video will not be nearly as exciting as today's. Today's had 2 different visual components, which was nice. And that is special for you guys, being that it's the 18th day. And being that it's the 18th day, that means that we have 82 days left!